At the time of this video's release, we are in the thick of spooky season, meaning it's time to make everything pumpkin spice, take candy from strangers, and most importantly, play some scary games. And luckily for us, there's a brand new one in the form of Stray Souls from upcoming developers Jukai Studio. Ostensibly a third-person action horror in the style of genre linchpins like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, you play the role of Daniel. Seemingly an average teenager, you inherit your estranged grandma's house on your 18th birthday. But while this might sound like an escape from the all-too-real horrors of mortgage rates, it actually opens you up to a whole new lot of non-mortgage related horrors, which honestly, I didn't know were a thing, but guess that just goes to show where I am in my life. Jeez. Anyway, promising to blend spooks, frenetic action, puzzles, and a unique story, will it live up to these lofty ambitions? Watch on to find out. The first thing about Stray Souls that grabbed me was just how action-packed it is, particularly for a game in this genre. You won't be hoarding bullets like they were made of gold, like you might in Resident Evil 2. Instead, you're just given free rein to start blasting. Things get real fast, real quick, with the simplified loadout meaning you can enjoy combat largely uninterrupted. And as someone who really isn't the brightest when it comes to games, this really worked for me, as it meant relying on instinct just as much as strategy, which personally I find far more engaging. With a mixture of different enemies offering different challenges, including some pretty gnarly bosses, it has more than a whiff of Souls-like about it. And that's without mentioning the trusty combat roll. The only thing is, the controls don't quite offer the fluidity needed to really make the most of what they were going for. It does feel a bit tankish, which doesn't make for much precision, and I did find myself getting into some pretty frustrating situations. Can it be annoying? Yes. Is it game-breaking? Far from it. And for the most part, I really dug what they were going for. But what is excellent without any caveats is the monster and general enemy design. There's some truly unsettling beasties out there, effective without over-relying on jump scares or other cheap tactics. Now I could be reading too much into things, but it felt like there were nods to baddies from other games, like the Necromorphs of Dead Space and the Boomers from Left 4 Dead. But rather than feeling derivative, it comes off more like a real reverence for the genre, picking out some of the best features from what's come before and making them feel new. But this game isn't flat-out action, with a healthy mix of puzzles helping to balance out the flow and pacing of proceedings. Now, for as bad as I am at combat in games, I am really bad at puzzle solving, like embarrassingly bad. So I did find a few here a bit frustrating, but honestly, that might be more down to my lack of skill than anything inherently wrong. In fact, there's probably a high chance of that. You'll have to let me know how you found them in the comments below. But for all my floundering and moaning, nothing felt like a puzzle for the sake of a puzzle, with them all thematically making sense. This meant, despite my lack of skill, these moments never broke the immersion, instead allowing me to build the headcanon that Daniel is equally inept at lateral thinking. And speaking of Daniel, and the story as a whole, I thought it was really effective, blending aspects of the occult, familial trauma, and mysticism. While it might not be anything we haven't seen before, it's more than enough to keep you engaged throughout the game's runtime. And this is all augmented by the inclusion of dialogue choices, which allow you to shape your version of Daniel. Okay, it might not be the deepest system you've ever seen, but it's still really impressive to see in an indie game like this, and adds an extra layer of investment in your journey. The setting of Aspen Falls is also super effective. This warped, twisted take on a Midwestern town oozes with foreboding dread, and becomes increasingly otherworldly as the game progresses. But what is less impressive is the facial animations. Stray Souls is built in Unreal Engine 5, which does make most of the game look pretty good. But when it comes to faces, its metahuman technology creates this uncanny effect that looks straight out of an LA Noire interrogation. Now, I found this at times, unintentionally, hilarious. But your tolerance for jank might not be the same as mine and will determine how much mileage you get out of this. It's just a shame when the rest of the game looks pretty good. What is unequivocally much better is the soundtrack, helmed by indie veteran composer Pete Witcher and the Akira Yamaoka of Silent Hill fame. And this pedigree lends a real sense of polish and nuance to the music. Whether it's in the heat of battle or something quieter in the more tense moments, the score is one of the game's shining features, something I think few would argue with. But overall, Stray Souls is a good game, but it just bit off a little bit more than it could chew, and this holds it back from being a great game. Its ambition is commendable, and it's one of those catch-22s where it might have had more polish with a big studio budget, but then would probably lose its singular vision and end up feeling generic. Either way, there's still plenty here to enjoy, and it's an easy recommendation this side of Halloween. And I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for what Jukai Studio have got coming up next. But have you played Stray Souls, or are you interested in checking it out? Please let me know in the comments below, I'd love to read your thoughts. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for plenty more on all things gaming, and you can always visit UpsideDownShock.com for everything else we've got going on. Until then, my name is Tom, this has been UDS, and we'll see you next time.